A single freight train can haul over 20,000 tons across an entire country, enough power to flatten anything in its path. But there's one thing that stops it dead, and it's not a mountain, not a cliff, not even a tunnel. It's a gentle slope so small, most people drive over it without noticing. Stay with me, because the reason will completely change how you see every train you've ever watched. A single freight train can drag over 20,000 tons of cargo across an entire country. It can stretch for more than 3 kilometers. It can haul hundreds of lorries worth of goods without breaking a sweat. This machine is an absolute beast, arguably one of the most powerful things ever built by human hands. But there is one enemy that beats it every single time. Not a mountain, not a storm, not a collapsed bridge. Just a gentle slope. So small, most people wouldn't even clock it while driving past in a car. And the reason why? It's going to completely flip the way you think about trains forever. Here's where it gets properly strange. We're talking about a machine that generates enough pulling force to move a small town's worth of cargo, yet it can be stopped dead by what looks like nothing. Engineers have spent nearly 2 centuries trying to solve this one problem. They've dug tunnels through entire mountain ranges, they've built enormous viaducts over valleys, they've laid extra miles of track just to avoid going uphill. All because of one tiny engineering decision made almost 200 years ago. And that decision? It wasn't a mistake. It was completely intentional. In fact, it's also the reason trains are so brilliant at what they do. So, what is this one decision that makes trains both incredibly powerful and surprisingly weak at the same time? Stick around, because the answer is hiding right beneath the wheels. Here's where it gets properly strange. We're talking about a machine that generates enough pulling force to move a small town's worth of cargo, yet it can be stopped dead by what looks like nothing. Engineers have spent nearly 200 years trying to solve this one problem. They've dug tunnels through entire mountain ranges, they've built enormous viaducts over valleys, they've laid extra miles of track just to avoid going uphill. All because of one tiny engineering decision made almost 200 years ago. And that decision? It wasn't a mistake. It was completely intentional. In fact, it's also the reason trains are so brilliant at what they do. So what is this one decision that makes trains both incredibly powerful and surprisingly weak at the same time? Stick around, because the answer is hiding right beneath the wheels. The answer comes down to something called rolling resistance. Every time a lorry tire rolls down a road, it squashes slightly against the surface. That squashing wastes energy, constantly. Even on a perfectly flat motorway, a huge chunk of the engine's power is just being burned to keep the tires rolling. It's like running in thick sand. Steel wheels are completely different. Because steel barely deforms at all, almost zero energy is wasted in that squashing process. The wheels glide forward with barely any resistance. That's the reason one locomotive can pull hundreds of wagons. A lorry with the same engine, it'd struggle to move a fraction of that weight. Steel wheels are one of the cleverest engineering choices in history. But like every brilliant idea, it comes with a brutal catch. That catch only shows up the moment a hill enters the picture. And when it... Most people imagine railway hills to be dramatic, steep mountain climbs, that sort of thing. But in reality, the hills that defeat freight trains are barely visible to the human eye. A 2% gradient means the track rises just 2 meters for every 100 meters of distance. You'd drive over that without blinking. But for a loaded freight train, that tiny slope becomes catastrophic. Suddenly, gravity is pulling thousands of tons backwards. Every single wagon behind the locomotive acts like an anchor. The locomotive keeps producing full power, but power isn't the problem.
The problem is getting that power down to the rails. And the only way it can do that is through 4 tiny patches of steel, each one roughly the size of a coin, pressing against the track. 4 coin-sized patches, holding back 20,000 tons on a slope. Think about that for a second. Can you guess what happens next when those 4 tiny patches finally run out of grip?
What happens is called wheel slip, and it's one of the most fascinating failures in all of engineering. As the slope increases, the force pulling the train backwards gets stronger. The locomotive pushes harder, but at a certain point, the wheels simply can't grip any tighter. They reach their limit. And then, instead of pulling the train forward, they just start spinning, faster and faster, going nowhere. If you've ever floored it in a car on an icy road and felt the wheels scream without the car moving, you already know exactly what this feels like. Here's the brutal part. Adding more power makes it worse. The wheels just spin faster. The train goes nowhere. Extra horsepower becomes completely useless the moment adhesion is lost. This single physical limit has shaped the design of railway networks across the entire planet. So if bigger engines don't work, what does? Engineers found a solution so simple, it's almost embarrassing, and most passengers have no idea it's happening beneath their feet.
The solution has been hiding in plain sight for over 100 years. Sand. That's it. Beneath almost every modern locomotive in the world, there are small compartments called sandboxes, filled with fine, dry sand. Whenever sensors detect the wheels starting to slip, a burst of compressed air fires tiny amounts of sand directly onto the rail, right in front of the wheels. Those grains bite into the steel. Friction spikes. The wheels find their grip again. For just a few moments, the locomotive can keep climbing. It sounds almost too simple for such a massive engineering problem, doesn't it? But it works. And here's something brilliant. If you've ever heard a faint scraping sound while a train accelerates or climbs a slope, there's a decent chance you are actually hearing sand being applied to the track in real time. Happens all the time. Nobody notices. But even sand has its limits. So what do you do when the hill is too steep for sand? Too steep for any normal train, and you can't just go around it?
When engineers couldn't beat the hill, they changed the landscape instead. Look at almost any railway built through hilly or mountainous terrain, and you'll notice it never takes the direct route. It snakes around hillsides. It follows river valleys for miles out of its way. It loops back on itself. It vanishes into tunnels. It crosses enormous viaducts over deep valleys. Every single one of those choices exists for the same reason: to spread the climb over a longer distance and keep the gradient manageable. Some railways even pass through the same mountain multiple times, using what are called spiral tunnels, corkscrew-shaped passages that let trains gradually gain height without the slope ever getting too steep. To most people, looking at a map, these routes look bonkers. Why go that far out of your way? But compared to climbing a hill that would stop the train dead, it's actually the smarter option. And here's something that'll properly blow your mind. This single engineering limitation didn't just shape railway routes. It shaped entire countries.
Think about where major cities are located. Think about where industrial towns grew up in the Victorian era. A massive number of them sit in valleys, along flat river plains, or in low-lying areas between hills. That wasn't always a coincidence. Railways drove economic development, but railways could only go where the gradient allowed. Cities that happened to sit on flat, accessible ground suddenly had rail connections. Industry boomed. Populations grew. Meanwhile, towns sitting on the wrong side of a steep hill often got left behind entirely. Even today, when engineers plan high-speed rail lines capable of doing 300 kilometers per hour, gradient is still one of the biggest headaches in the design process. The physics hasn't changed. The laws of friction and gravity are exactly the same as they were in 1825. The hill is still winning.
what about the places where avoiding the hill simply isn't an option?
In the most extreme cases, where mountains leave no choice, engineers threw out the rulebook entirely. They invented a completely different kind of railway. Look closely at the track on certain mountain railways, particularly in Switzerland, and you'll spot something unusual running right down the middle of the rails. A toothed rack, like a giant metal comb laid flat on the ground. The locomotive carries a matching gear underneath. Instead of relying on friction between wheel and rail, the gear physically locks into the rack and climbs mechanically, almost like a ladder. It doesn't matter how steep the slope is. The gear doesn't slip, it just climbs. This is called a rack railway, and it can conquer gradients several times steeper than any conventional train could handle. The trade-off is speed. Rack railways are slow, expensive to maintain, and completely unsuitable for heavy freight. But in places where the mountain gives you no other option, they're the only thing that works. 200 years of engineering. Tunnels, viaducts, spiral routes, sand, rack systems, all because of one tiny decision made before most countries even had proper roads. So, what does that tell us about the future?
The next time you see a train disappear into a tunnel, or cross a sweeping viaduct, or follow a winding valley route that seems to go miles out of its way, remember that none of it happened by accident. Every single meter of that track was a decision, an engineering compromise, a quiet battle between human ambition and the laws of physics. Steel wheels on steel rails gave us one of the most efficient transport systems in human history. One locomotive pulling thousands of tons, using a fraction of the fuel a lorry would need. But it cost us grip. And ever since, the entire history of railway engineering has been one long, brilliant, endlessly creative attempt to work around a problem that can never truly be solved, just managed. A hill. That's all it took. And yet, the machines we built to deal with it changed the world. That's not a failure. That's engineering at its most human. And with that, here's a question I want you to actually think about before you scroll away. If engineers today started from scratch, completely fresh, do you think they'd still choose steel wheels? Or would they build something entirely different? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this video made you look at trains differently, smash that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this channel. Subscribe if you want more videos that dig into the hidden engineering quietly shaping the world around us. See you in the next one.